What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you my first impressions of Disco Elysium. As a channel that covers primarily CRPGs and isometric style games, this is one that has been long requested that I'm finally getting around to, and I'll be reviewing it after 100%, as is the case, typically speaking, with the games on the channel. So, Disco Elysium is an isometric narrative game, meaning that the story is the game. There's not necessarily combat in the traditional sense, but rather you're reading a ton of text, and the game itself is largely comparable to reading through a choose-your-own-adventure book, for instance, which makes it a genre that I personally refer to as narrative games. The primary goal for the game is to solve a murder that has happened recently, and you play a cop. However, you wake up with a case of amnesia, and you don't know who you are, or much of anything, really, and you have to set about getting yourself together while also trying to solve this murder. And a lot of this is done through what I could call probably one of the most interesting skill and dialogue systems that I've seen in a game like this, as the game has a few preset characters, if you will, or skill allocations for you to jump into, or you can create a custom character, and this boils down to 4 stats that then affect and influence their associated skills, of which there are 24. Now, each one of these skills can be very interesting and kind of just change how situations and plot points play out. In some cases, this happens passively, just as you do conversations, and in other cases you have to pass a check, and this is done through sort of dice rolls, which certainly isn't anything new for this type of channel, but that kind of introduces an element of randomness to it. That is typically more akin to isometric RPGs. But this system in particular kind of allows you to build the character and kind of develop their worldview, and even this is a little bit shown off through the thought system. So as your character encounters ideas, it comes up as thoughts. So you go to the thought menu and internalize them, which will then give you bonuses or detriments, which will allow you to, think about something and mull it over, which then might unlock further conversation options or increase the bonus or detriment that it's giving you. And it's just an interesting system. And it certainly makes for quite the interesting game. Now, to top it off, I think the writing itself is pretty good. And in a game like this, that is an incredibly important thing, because this being a narrative game, you are going to be reading walls and walls of text. Again, there's no real combat. It's basically just talking to people, figuring things out, maybe solving the occasional puzzle, but that's pretty much it. So in a game like that, the story is everything. So the writing better be pretty incredible. And to top it all off, it is completely voice acted. Not my thing, but that's incredibly important to a lot of people. And it is an important factor, I would say, again, in a game that is all about the story. First impressions wise, overall, it's pretty good. I'm actually very interested in seeing the character development system, because with 24 skills and all of these stats, I'm very curious to see what the overall spread of these abilities is going to wind up being, because I'll have to play through the game a few times. So I'm curious if there's a build per se, if you want to call it that, that will essentially get you more out of the game than others. Because in my experience, that tends to be the case with these kinds of things. But I can honestly say I've never had a system quite like this in a narrative game. So I'm just curious to see if it manages to keep up the level of variation that we see towards the beginning of the game. But first impressions wise, to wrap it up and save some things for the review, the writing's pretty interesting, and the way you build the detective out is very interesting. So far, the quality of the writing seems very good. Again, curious to see if that maintains throughout the entire game, which is a pretty key factor for a game like this, and I'm looking forward to messing around with the skill system and builds and kind of seeing what happens. So to that end, this review will probably take me a little while, simply because I'm going to have to play through the game multiple times. There's stuff in a game like this that is easily missable, especially when you're going for 100%. So I fully expect this one to take me a little bit. But overall, I'm enjoying it so far. I've already died a few times, actually, and in this game, your character can die from like a lack of morale, if you will. So you can kind of get bummed out to the point that the cop just quits, which I thought was pretty funny. But again, looking forward to diving into this one and just seeing if the writing holds up as we play through the story. So hope you guys enjoyed the first impressions. If you're looking forward to the review, stick around. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. We're growing every day. July has easily been the biggest month of the channel already, and it's not even quite over yet. So thank you for that. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.